From the studios here at CATV6 and RobinHoodRadio.com, welcome once again to exactly what the sign says here. My name is Andy Williams. Actually, the show is called Simply Sports, not what the sign says here. But anyway, November the 13th, 2019. First and foremost, a happy belated Veterans Day to all the veterans out there who risked their lives to keep our country safe from all branches of the military. And once again, just thank you to all that have served. Got a lot on the plate today. A lot of good talking topics. If you want to talk to me here in the studio, 860-824-4200. I almost thought about giving away my cell phone number, but I'm not going to do that. 860-824-4200, 860-824-4200 to come in live and debate with me on sporting topics. You ready? I'm ready. Here we go. We start locally. Housatonic. Big upset. A big-time upset in boys soccer. The Hoosie boys upset Parish Hill 3-1 on Monday. They played a phenomenal game from what I saw on Twitter. And they move on to the second round where they are on the road in Cromwell to play their second round game. And that game starts in about an hour. So if you're tuning into me live right now, yes, it is in about an hour, but if you tune into me on the rebroadcast at 7 o'clock and 11 o'clock, the game will already be over. So the game starts at 2. The girls, ironically enough, play at home against Cromwell. That's right. They play tomorrow, 2 o'clock at Hoosie. Make sure you go out and support the girls' soccer team. And let's get this run to a state championship underway. Let's get it underway the correct way. Because I got a good feeling that the Hoosie girls have a strong case and a good chance of winning the state tournament this year in 2019. Also, too, on Saturday, the Hoosie football team is home against Bullard Havens Tech at noon. So those are your Housatonic athletics for this week. Good luck to all Housatonic athletics going forward. Okay. Now comes the part of the show where I'm going to get a little angry and I'm going to get a little feisty. You're probably asking me why. Well, very simple. The New York Knicks, and I didn't want to pass judgment about it, but then I had to dig a little bit deeper. I saw some columns. I watched some TV. I saw my friend, hopefully he'll be my friend, Stephen A. Smith. And by the way, Stephen A., if you ever want to come on this show, Simply Sports, the seat is right there. I would love to have you on. And he went on a rant, which was all truth. I'm going to go over that. And I agree with him 100%. And it got me angry, too, because what exactly has the Knicks done now? Ever since these bunch of cronies came in and completely diluted New York Knicks basketball. Talking about Scott Perry and Steve Mills, the general manager and the president of basketball operations of the New York Knicks. They came out in a press conference Sunday night after losing by 23 points to a Cleveland Cavaliers that have done jack squat since LeBron James has left. And they have the audacity. Now, it's one thing if you do it behind closed doors. And you do it with the owner, James Dolan, and you have the meeting with David Fitzdale, the head coach, behind closed doors. That's one thing. But to come out in a press conference in front of the media, in front of the New York media, in front of the whole world to see, and say, oh, we should be better than this. Really? Really? What have you done in the front office, Scott Perry and Steve Mills? What array of talent have you brought? I could give R.J. Barrett a pass because he's a rookie. But not bringing Kevin Durant, not bringing Kyrie Irving, not getting Klay Thompson, not getting anyone. Not getting anyone in free agency. And you have the audacity to sit up there and throw David Fitzdale, who is actually a decent head coach and a decent human being, and chuck him under the bus and back over him and go forward again and then back over him again. The nerve. Ever since David Fitzdale took over the New York Knicks, he has a record of 19-73. Ladies and gentlemen, for those that don't know sports very well, that is not good. Basically, what the front office has done and what the starting five has in front of them are five bona fide forwards. R.J. Barrett, Julius Randle, Marcus Morris, Alfred Payton. I can't pronounce the last guy because, I don't know, he's French. I mean, I can't pronounce his last name. But if you could see them play, and I actually sat down and I watched them play, you have five forwards playing. And everyone can see from the stands, every viewer on television. You all know they're going left. R.J. Barrett is a right-hander, but yet he always goes left. Could someone please tell me where the front office gets off in saying, well, we should be better? You're 2-8. No kidding. And now you throw your head coach under the bus? You make him a scapegoat? It's one thing to do it after he's fired. Well, now they're 2-9. Excuse me. They're 2-9 after losing to the Bulls last night by 20. Yet another blowout loss to yet another team that we know damn well is not going to the playoffs. The time for change is now. The Knicks have a young enough core. Get rid of the coach, get rid of the GM, get rid of the president of basketball operations. And for the love of humanity, if James Dolan has even the slightest bit of brain, sell the damn team. And get people in there that know what they're doing. All right. Breathe. Transition. College basketball last night. And arguably one of the biggest shockers in all, and quite frankly, in quite some time. You could make the case that UMBC beating number 1 Virginia in the NCAA tournament is one of the greatest upsets of all time. You could make that case. But last night, this exceeded that. You have a team in the University of Evansville, Indiana, that go into Rupp Arena to play the University of Kentucky. Former player Walter McCarty, the head coach. Practically a Division II school. They won 5 Division II national championships. Just turned into Division Ia. They walk into Rupp Arena, and they walk out a winner. Kentucky was 25-point favorites walking into the game. 25 points. And they went into a place where Kentucky was 41-0 against non-conference opponents being ranked. And the University of Evansville outplayed them, out-hustled them, and quite frankly, they wanted it more. Kentucky was just playing through like it was a scrimmage. And I was just sitting there with my mouth open, like, oh my God, this is not, wait, this is happening. Oh my gosh, it happened. To give you more perspective on what this upset is equal to. Remember back in 2007 when then Division I AA Appalachian State went into Michigan? Michigan was ranked number 5 at the time, and Appalachian State upset Michigan in the Big House. That's what this loss is. That's what this game was. And if I'm John Calipari, I would have had 4 a.m. practice this morning after that performance, because that was god-awful. And they deserve to lose that game 100%. So congratulations to the University of Evansville for pulling off arguably the biggest regular season upset that we have seen in, I would say, about 25 years. Excuse me. My wrestling fans, what is it, the second or the third? I believe it's the third. The third pay-per-view for AEW has come and gone. The first 2 hours of the night were absolutely blah. Until we got to the last two events, the co-main events. The first match was the championship match between Chris Jericho and Cody Rhodes. Cody Rhodes did not win the title. Cody Rhodes would never, ever wrestle for the AEW championship again. It was a great match. And then his accomplice, MJF, threw in the towel. Chris Jericho wins the match. And then MJF proceeds to turn heel. Now, I didn't understand because I thought that this was the last match of the night. And I thought, oh my gosh, this is a great end. Like this was a classic ending to, you know, a decent pay-per-view. But then that wasn't. Then came Jon Moxley versus Kenny Omega in an unsanctioned lights out street fight. Basically anything went. And my God, did everything go. For those of you that didn't get a chance to see it, I've posted it on my wall. It is arguably one of the most gruesome matches I think I have ever seen between WWE and any other brand, any other like main brand of wrestling that you will see. This basically took ECW and, yeah, this is basically what it was. It was Extreme Championship Wrestling. And I actually cringed a lot over a lot that happened. There were barbed wire bats, there were chairs, there were tables, trash cans, a mousetrap table. There was even broken glass. Broken glass. And if that wasn't enough, there was a barbed wire, I don't even know how to describe it, but a barbed wire bed, which both participants fell into. And even had me cringing. And had a lot of the fans cringing. At the end, Jon Moxley pulled the ring, the protective padding out from the ring so you could actually see what the ring was. Solid wood. And then Jon Moxley, paradigm shift on Kenny Omega, 1, 2, 3. Thank God it was over. That match lasted 43 minutes. That match put wrestling back 20 years. That one match. Everybody was like, no more. Please stop. This is awful. Sure, some of the hardcore fans were chanting, yeah, this is awesome, but come on, to a real wrestling fan? No. No. Even I was cringing. That takes a lot for me to look at a wrestling match and cringe. But if you ever get a chance to see it, Jon Moxley versus Kenny Omega, yeah, made you cringe. Raw and SmackDown were absolutely uneventful over in Manchester. There's only one piece of news that came out, and that was last night. on WWE Backstage. And you're saying, why on earth would that absolutely crappy show make headlines? Well, very simple. The return of one CM Punk. Keep in mind, he's not back with WWE. He's back with Fox. He works for Fox. He's not with WWE, but he did leave it open for WWE. He has said that he is one phone call away. And also a little nugget also on Twitter. Bray Wyatt, the Fiend, said when he saw CM Punk, "I see you." I'm just saying, things to come. Things to come. College football. Who called LSU versus Alabama? This guy. Why am I wearing yellow? Go Tigers. All works out. 46-41, they go into Tuscaloosa and they beat down Alabama. Now, why are you saying, oh, well, it was only a 5-point game? Well, they were up 33-13 at halftime. Tua is not healthy. Tua Tagovailoa, the quarterback for Alabama, is not healthy. In fact, he's a game-time decision for next week against Mississippi State. Now, you have all these other things that happened. Penn State lost to Minnesota. Minnesota 9-0 for the first time since 1904. And ironically enough, last week was the 150th anniversary of the very first college football game being played between Dartmouth and Princeton, I believe. Dartmouth winning 6-4. Keep that in mind. College football rankings came out. LSU, no surprise, number 1. Ohio State, no surprise, number 2, because LSU beat Alabama. Ohio State beat Maryland. Yeah, Ohio State scored 73 points, but again, it's against Maryland. Clemson, number 3 from number 5. No surprise. Here's where it gets messy. Georgia is number 4. How is that? Georgia losing to South Carolina. And now they're ranked number 4, which doesn't really make a heck of a lot of sense to me. Now, if anything, I would have put Alabama at 4, but knowing if either Baylor or Minnesota runs the table. Now look, the top 3 is done in my eyes. LSU, Ohio State, Clemson. They get to their championship games, they're in. No doubt. But now, if Baylor runs the table or Minnesota runs the table, they're in. If Baylor loses at Oklahoma or loses one of their final games, or if Minnesota loses one of their games, and then Georgia goes into the SEC championship and loses, or if they play in the SEC championship, then you could see that scenario once again where Alabama, who probably will not play in the SEC championship, could sneak into number 4. But for Alabama, losing, look at the eye test. Who have they beaten? Name me one team right now that is ranked in the top 25 that Alabama has beaten. Go ahead, I'll wait. That's right, there is none. The only remaining game they have against a good team is Auburn in the Iron Bowl. And if they don't win that game, then they're definitely not in. I don't care who you are. I don't care what SEC bias the committee has. But this road for Alabama just got a heck of a lot tougher. And all the dominoes have to fall now. If they don't, Alabama's out, whether you like it or not. So, I went 4-1 last week, put me at 33-22 against the spread, 60% winning percentage. So here we go, my Power 5. I never bet for Alabama, but I think they're going to cover the 20.5 against Mississippi State. Georgia taking on Auburn. I will give Auburn the 2.5 because I think it's going to be really close. I think that Georgia is going to sneak out a win here. Memphis, I will spot 10 to Houston. I think Memphis is a good team. I think that they will cover the 10. Minnesota traveling to Iowa. Very tricky game, coming off a huge win against Penn State. But I think that they will cover the 3. And then the big game down in Waco. Oklahoma's favored by 10 on the road against Baylor. Give me Baylor with the points, plus 10. That's my big 5. NFL, quickly. I went 5-8. Putting my record at 88-57-1, 60.3% for the year. Thursday night football, Pittsburgh versus Cleveland. Cleveland's really a favorite again? And Pittsburgh, they're 5-4. Did you see that coming? I didn't. Divisional game, I got Pittsburgh winning this game. 6-4 Pittsburgh, despite everything they've been through? Yeah, it's going to happen. Dallas taking on Detroit. Dallas, after that heartbreaking loss against Minnesota on Sunday Night Football, I see them bouncing back in a big way against Detroit, especially if Matt Stafford doesn't play. Jacksonville against Indianapolis. Indianapolis is due for a bounce back. Indy wins big here. Buffalo versus Miami. Buffalo wins big over Miami. The little two-game winning streak is over. Denver taking on Minnesota. I see Minnesota winning big there. New Orleans versus Tampa Bay, always a tricky matchup, but New Orleans will win there. The Jets taking on Washington. Who really wants to watch this game? I don't. I see the Jets winning this game. Atlanta versus Carolina. I see Carolina winning that game handily. Houston versus Baltimore. 2 future quarterbacks. Deshaun Watson versus Lamar Jackson. I got Lamar Jackson in the matchup of possible MVPs. Arizona versus San Francisco. San Francisco wins big. Oakland. Are they really going to be 6-4? Yeah. Oakland over Cincinnati big. Excuse me. New England versus Philadelphia. New England coming off a bye is virtually unbeatable. New England. I don't care where they play or who they play. New England over Philadelphia. Chicago versus the Rams. I see Chicago pulling an upset over the Los Angeles Rams. And finally, in Mexico City and Estadio Azteca, Kansas City versus the Chargers. Kansas City upsetting the Los Angeles Chargers. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for tuning in to Simply Sports. November 13th, 2019. Don't forget, I'm on YouTube, Simply Sports with Andy Williams. Re-air 7 o'clock and 11 o'clock at CATV 6. And for Michael Flint, Marshall Miles, and Brian Oler, thank you very much for tuning in. And 1, 4, 3.